So, welcome back. I hope you're still with us. Again, we're walking and talking about how you build relationships. And Sunday, we gave you the relationship test, which is when you can't celebrate or embrace other people because you're too busy thinking, hey, when do I get celebrated? Where's my title? Where's my reward? That's probably when you know there's some hard work to do. And we looked at what Jesus said. The beginning of surrendering relationships is the golden rule. It's whenever you start beginning to think about other people. And so we're walking through the 21 relationship principles. And today we're really going to wrestle with, how do I build trust? How do I build trust with friends? How do I build trust in a marriage? How do I build trust for my boss or my employees? Let's jump into Proverbs 25, verse 13. This is what it says. Reliable friends who do what they say are like cool drinks in sweltering heat, refreshing. I love that verse. And the real question is, how can I be that for other people? Being trustworthy literally begins with principle number 1, which is trust is the foundation. It's the bedrock of any relationship. Please understand, trust isn't something you create. Trust is earned over time. How is trust? How is it earned? Well, trust is about risk, and you have to think about the fact that every time someone trusts you, they're taking a risk. What are they risking? They're risking that you may let them down. So every time someone trusts you, and you don't let them down, trust grows in your marriage, in your family, at church, and in community. The question is, are you building trust? Are you coming through for people, or do you feel like you have a lot of excuses as to why you can't come through for people? Just a real quick tip before we jump into the next principle. One of the things about trust that you need to know about is sometimes if you have a friend and you're like, oh, we're really close, and you feel like that friend is comfortable gossiping with you and things, here's something you really need to understand about trust. What a person is willing to do with you, they're willing to do to you. In other words, if you have a friend and they're really willing to gossip a lot and talk about other people a lot, chances are they're probably willing to do that behind your back. If they do it with you, chances are they're going to be willing to do it to you. Just a real important tip on being trustworthy. Principle number 2 about trust, the situation principle. Never let the situation mean more than the relationship. And this is when a person puts a situation, a temporary situation, ahead of the relationship. If you think about the Williams sisters, Venus and Serena Williams, they were ferocious tennis players. They were at the top of tennis for so many years, and they're sisters and they're competitive, and they always remained close friends. Why? Because they would leave winning and losing on the tennis court, and they would live their lives as good friends. They did a really good job with this. Here's the big question you should ask yourself. When rough times hit in my relationships, what's more important to me? Is winning the situation more important to me, or is keeping the relationship more important to me? And anytime someone's willing to sacrifice the relationship over the situation, they've lost perspective. And you really see this, I think, when relationships are stressed, like stressed marriages or a stressed business situation, where we have to win this situation, and it's more important than the relationship. Here are 3 questions to help you know about yourself or others if you're making the situation life or death. Number 1, how often are you tense or upset? How often do you raise your voice whenever you're in that relationship? How often do you battle for your personal rights and what's fair? Basically, what we're talking about is learning what it means to manage your emotions, and if you have to be right and win all the time. Remember, trust in you is about others taking risk in you. And when you allow the situation to be greater than the relationship, you're breaking that trust. You're telling others, I need to win more than be in a relationship with you. And when that happens, the relationship can go squirrely. It can be volatile, deceitful, all kinds of bad stuff goes on. Principle number 3 about trust, the Bob principle. Probably my favorite principle of all the 21 principles is the Bob principle. When Bob has a problem with everyone, Bob's usually the problem. Let me explain this to you. Here's how it looks. If Bob has a problem with Fred, and if Bob has a problem with Sue, and if Bob has a problem with Bill, guess what? Bob is probably the problem. Let's talk about Bob or Bobby and how he or she, what they tend to do. Bob likes to find problems and then share problems with everyone around him. Bob likes to create problems and likes everyone to be involved with those problems. Bob tends to carry problems with him and make sure it affects everybody around him. And Bob usually takes on everyone else's problems, and they encourage people to dump their problems on him. Why is Bob or Bobby, why is this principle a problem? Because this individual breaks trust. You can't trust this person. So how do you know if you're a Bob or a Bobby? Do you experience some kind of conflict every day? Do you experience a similar conflict in all the relationships? So you had this situation where you worked before and you have this situation today. You had this situation with all the friends and you have this situation in your current friendships. Do bad things naturally happen to you? Do you like it when people share negative things with you so you can share them with others? This is a problem because this is what we call the Bob principle, and you can't trust this person because they break trust. So what do you do? What do you do? Well, ask yourself, am I a Bob or a Bobby? Ask yourself, and this is what I would encourage you to do. All the problems you find or have, or the problems other people tell you about, I would really encourage you to write them all out into a prayer journal, in a prayer to God. And then when that prayer journal is filled up, throw it out. I would really encourage you to become a person, instead of taking negative information and sharing negative information, take everything you're hearing and then just put it into a prayer to God and throw that out and become a person that doesn't repeat these things. I think that is probably one of the most helpful, healthy ways to stop being a Bob or Bobby. Principle number 4 about trust, the approachability principle. Being at ease with others helps others be at ease with, being at ease with ourselves helps others be at ease with us. Being approachable has nothing to do with being a bold or a timid person. It's how you conduct yourself. When you are secure with yourself, it shows. You don't overreact to things. You can be real and honest, and you just don't have any hidden agendas. You're not prideful, and you don't have to win everything. You're able just to listen and not really have the last word. What would others say about you? Are you approachable in difficult times? Are you reactionary with emotion, anger, and are people really kind of afraid to talk to you? If you're approachable, then you're beginning to build trust with people. Principle number 5 about trust, the foxhole principle. When preparing for battle, dig a hole big enough for a friend. Why would we say this? Because life's hard. You need that encouragement and support from others. And the question is, are you that friend for others? Do you feel lonely? Do you feel like you don't have any good friends? What's that struggle about? I think it's time to pray and ask God to really kind of engage, ask Him for those friends and engage other people, volunteer with people, have no expectations from them, and be a great friend to them. It's called building a foxhole. Are you building trust with others? Well, maybe not. Maybe there's some hard work to do. Let's recap the 5 principles about trust. Principle number 1, trust is the foundation, the bedrock of every good relationship, because trust is earned over time. Number 2, the situation principle. Never let the situation mean more than the relationship. Number 3, the Bob principle. When Bob has a problem with everyone, Bob's usually the problem. The approachability principle, being at ease with ourselves, helps others be at ease with us. The foxhole principle. When preparing for battle, dig a hole big enough for a friend, because life is hard. So tomorrow, we talk about what it looks like to purposely invest into the lives of people. We'll see you then.